Okay, let's talk money, getting set up, getting yourself on a property with a place to live.
I wonder what made this hole. I wonder if that's deer. Do you dream of living a simpler life like this? Let's break it down. Hey guys, it's Katie Kate on the Homestead. Today I'm going to try to answer the question that I get asked the most, and that is, how can I afford to homestead?
So that's the million-dollar question that I am asked most often. Today, I'm going to try to answer that question in a way that is helpful. I think there are two parts to that answer, so I'm going to break it down into two videos so I can cover each one separately. The first part is how to get here and how to start a homestead, and then the second part is about sustainability and how to do it long-term on a limited income. Now, of course, I don't have any answers. Really, all I can do is share my own experience and insight doing this myself. It's going to be different for every individual, and that's just the fact of the matter. For example, in my case, I am here as a single person. A lot of people who aspire to this lifestyle are in a partnership or a couple. So it will look a little bit different for everybody. I think the big takeaway should be, if I can do it, you can too. I cannot emphasize this enough. You don't have to have all the answers before you start. I think it's good to plan strategies, but you don't need to know how it's all going to unfold. The fact of the matter is, there are solutions to obstacles that we have in our head that we can't even predict. There are situations that will evolve that are completely unforeseen, and we can find ourselves supported, again, in ways that we couldn't have anticipated. I like to use the example of moving out here all by myself. If I had made it an obstacle that I was going to need help and that I really just didn't know what I was doing, to be all alone in the middle of nowhere, if I had let that obstacle prevent me from coming, I never would be here. Once I got here, all of a sudden I met Scott. Scott has mentored me. He has saved me thousands of dollars with his actual work around here, helping me with his tractor, pulling up trees. There are countless ways that he has saved me thousands of dollars. And in addition, again, he's mentored me and taught me the skills that I'm going to need to know to save myself from outsourcing and incurring all those expenses along the way. I think that's a really tangible example of how solutions can present that we know nothing about before we get here. I think it's essential to commit 100% to the journey and the adventure, knowing that if this is truly the way you want to live, you have the rest of your life to develop it and figure it out. And from my perspective, just getting here and having the opportunity to do that was my goal. Have some faith, try to avoid stressing out, and just try to enjoy the journey and the adventure with all of its challenges and all of its successes. Okay, let's talk money, getting set up, getting yourself on a property with a place to live. So first of all, I think it's important to know your budget. So have a goal. I had a certain amount in my head, XYZ, that when I reached that goal with my investments, I was going to pull the plug and embark on this adventure. My XYZ was a goal that I felt would enable me to purchase a property with a house on it and allow me 1 year to just let the dust settle and figure out how I was going to move forward from there. So once you know your budget, you can start to consider what options there are. Also, look at your individual strengths and what options that might open up. So for example, in my case, as a single woman who doesn't have the skills to come out and build my own house, that meant that my goal encompassed finding a property that also had a house that was already built that I could just learn to manage. You might be someone that has the skills to actually build your own cabin or your own house, so you would have more options than a person like me. So based on that, you can think about property size, property location. You can start to shop the market, maybe see what areas would be affordable for you. You could consider buying vacant land and building infrastructure. Situations like sales tax properties that I've discussed before, partnering up with people, some sort of communal endeavor, or maybe finding someone with property already who wouldn't mind you actually living on it and whatever way that you can contribute to their situation. So it's important to think outside the box. Again, when it comes to the house, considering budget, considering skill set, you can start to think about options, whether you're purchasing a house that's already built, you're deciding to build your own, you could live in a trailer, you could purchase a simple bunkie kit and build a tiny house that way. You can decide to what degree you're willing to live off-grid, what you could actually manage, what would work for you. In my case, I still have a teenager living with me, so I needed it to be pretty set up with fairly comfortable amenities. But hey, if you can do it rougher, that's more options for you. Remember that once you start this adventure, you have the rest of your life to build it up slowly, take your time. Rome was not built in a day, so just try to manage what you can afford doing on the very front end and then have patience and give yourself time. So those are some things to consider on the front end when it comes to the initial investment of getting here. Essentially finding a piece of land, determining what kind of infrastructure you need, you want, you can manage, and then working towards saving for that goal. Once you have a goal in mind, as soon as you reach it, pull the plug. Just do it. You know where you want to be. You know what you want to do. Sometimes the window of opportunity opens for just a small period of time. So you really want to jump through it when you can before it closes up again. So cold, hard cash. I know one guy who started his homesteading journey on about $5,000. Purchased a piece of property in Oregon, just vacant land, lived in a fifth wheel, literally had to drive to get water from the river. Did that for a few years until he was able to sell that property for 6 times what he paid for it. He relocated to Maine, bought a different kind of property that then had a little cabin on it, and he was able to drill a well and build up some infrastructure. Now, he's 15 years younger than me, so again, it really depends on where you're at in life. First of all, I had more time to build savings through investments, at 50 years old. In his case, at 35, he could afford to rough it a little bit more and be a little bit more off-grid and build his assets in that way. Again, it really depends on our individual situation. Please know that I'm not a person who came from money. I didn't inherit money. Everything that I invested into this situation was hard-earned. I lived very house poor when I was in the city because I was trying to harness all the equity that I could in my house because I knew that that was my ticket out and that would get me to my XYZ. Also, please know that I planned for years before I made this move. I started by practicing some of the skills, gardening, preserving food. I volunteered at farms. I worked in aquaponics. I tested the waters to see if these were really things that I enjoyed doing. It laid a really good foundation. It solidified my ambition. And I think that that is where to start. Once you know that this is absolutely where you want to be, every single thing you are working towards is that moment where you can pull the plug and start your grand adventure. Stay courageous, stay ambitious. Even I had doubts when it was all unfolding for me. And I had one client, I remember, who said to me when I was faltering a little bit and doubting myself, she said, "Kate, you've talked about this for so long. There's no way you can't do it." So I guess there's another piece of advice. Share your goals, bring them into reality, tell people so that when you need the support, when the time comes, you'll have it. In the meantime, try to plan a budget, set your XYZ, and do everything you can to be working towards that goal, knowing that the sacrifices that you're making in the moment are going to lead to the opportunity to make this work. On the front end, I believe it's all about getting here so that we can figure it out. Okay, so that is startup, hard money talk. I hope that that's helpful without getting into too much specifics about my own finances. In the next video, I'm going to talk about sustainability because, again, my goal was getting here, getting myself set up, and then giving myself 1 year to figure it out. It is now 3 years since I got here, and so I'll talk about how that's all played out for me. Please drop any other questions that you have down in the comments section. I have a video that I shot a couple of years ago, also discussing how I actually got here and how this all played out for me. I will put a link to that in the description below, so if you're interested, you can check out what I had to say 2 years ago. Until next time, happy, healthy living. I hope you are all doing well, staying safe, staying kind, dreaming big, and knowing that anything is possible. I'm Katie Kate on the Homestead. I'll see you later.